Here we are, boys and girls. Season 6, episode 22. I didn't think we were doing a show tonight, but here we are. Well, let's before we let Gary, I turn the mic over to Gary and Joe here. I do want to thank you guys for either DMing me on Twitter, on X. I'm sorry, yeah, on X or on Facebook, or on the Isles Talk page. You guys gave out a lot of compliments from the last show. I greatly appreciate it. I was asked to do one like that again, and that's just not happening. Once for a season is good enough for me. I honestly have checked out for the season. I'm not surprised with Nashville, what they did with Nashville last night. I'll let Gary and I'll let Joe take over on that side. But again, I wanted to thank you guys for the compliments. I appreciate them. No doubt. Come back for more at some point, hopefully on a better turn. But, thank you so much. But after what we saw last night, we got a couple of things to talk about. And we'll also talk about Alex Ovechkin and what happened there at UBS Arena with history being made. And we're gonna talk about he jinxed it, Joe. He jinxed it, Joe. Yeah, he just chickened out, boys and girls. Wow. All right.
Must be raining where he is.
Must be raining or thunderstorms where he is. Wow. But no, we'll talk Alex Ovechkin, and we're gonna be remembering Mike Bossy a little bit tonight. So
Sorry, I just lost my connection.
It's raining.
Of course you can. Is it raining or thunderstorming by you?
No.
Attaboy. Inside joke.
I don't have planetariitis.
Wow. Oh. Wow.
And that's right, sports fans. The over-under is 23 minutes. You can go on to Bet Rivers or any one of your gambling connections and put your $2 in now.
Wow. Damn. And on that note, boys and girls, it's Gary's turn. Gary, tell us how you feel, bud.
No, I'm not going to be like Paul because there's only one Paul. And yes, Greg Risordo, I'm in black in mourning. So yes, it's time. I was afraid because I'm actually was sitting here and I was working today and the Mets lost 5-0 and I'm wearing black. I'm going, oh no, did I screw them too? But anyhow, just a couple of comments that are going on. And I know a lot of people can tend to, overreact on some of these boards and make some kind of comments, and you've got every right to do it. And I'm never going to tell anybody they don't. Paul tends to be a little bit of an optimist, and I appreciate that with him very much. And the fact that he did check out kind of shocked me in the beginning, but I get it. But being that the only host on here that's within 45 minutes of UBS Arena, and has season tickets for the 30-something year, we tend to, make sure we go to every game. And, regardless of the situation, if we were at 112 points or we were at 42 points, Claire and I would be there for other reasons, not just, because we bought the tickets, but, of our other responsibilities and everything else. But I actually wanted to take time to actually, it hurts me to say this. Oh, every bit of my being is going, don't do it.
Here we go,
I
Joe.
gotta praise that knucklehead on the upper left for his comments. No, I really do. We're here on this channel, and we're here to give an honest, truthful, feeling in the gut of our team. And not Paul, not Joe, and definitely not I are going to take anybody apart. But just what I've seen in the last 2 weeks just hurts me as an Islander fan. I just, and it never goes away. I mean, I've been seeing these comments on and off, and long before AOL came about and all this, and how people rip on the management and rip on ownership and rip on this and rip on that. So that's part one. I just wanted to get that off my chest and just remember that really the object of being a fan, yes, it comes from the word fanatic, but it's to show support. And that's where I'm getting into the next part of this.
Go ahead.
Sunday. I think with a national audience and with a lot of people from the DMV area that spent thousands and thousands of dollars of their hard-earned money to come up, I should say, to Elmont to witness history. That scene alone of how the Islander fans joined in for the most case, because I'm sure a certain section in the building behind one of the nets would not allow their group to really enjoy this. Hint, hint, hint. But they stood up. We stood up in unison with the Cat fans. We yelled. We screamed Ovi with the Cat fans. And I think from the sounds of what you heard from the comments, especially from Gretzky and Gary Bettman after the game, I really think they were taken aback by the way the Islander fans went and took part in the whole celebration. It was great. Everybody was enjoying it. It was loud. It was crazy. No booze whatsoever. Again, except for maybe a section in the back that we couldn't hear. But it just basically surmised what the NHL should be, and what the NHL does is a good thing. Well, yes, the only boos really were Gary Bettman's, but that's typical.
Yes, as it should be.
But for the 30-something years that Gary Bettman has been the commissioner of the NHL, all he's ever wanted to do was to make this league look better in the eyes of the American public. Canada didn't have to worry about it. It was here. And I think he's done a great job of it. Yeah, he says some stupid things and, everybody boos commissioners, but he does a great job. And setting that, that presentation after he scored, I think was great. I think it was great that, of course, and it's been done not just with Ovi, but with Fleury and all that, the other teams are coming out and showing respect. The Islanders could have actually come off the ice and went into the dressing room. And I think they were offered that option. And they said, absolutely not. And not only did they not go to the bench, but they stood up, which I thought was even a better, classier move, that they stood there the whole time. But the fans were great. The fans from Washington were fantastic. I had a lot of people come up and as people were talking, we congratulated them and all this stuff, and a lot of people gave us some nice comments. And I want to bring up this thing, Paul. If you can put that picture up that I gave you.
I can, yes.
Yeah, you can. Moment. When we were walking, and Claire and I were walking out of the game, we were in obviously in the diamond lot, and we saw this beautiful Jeep with, as Joe says, with a Hellcat engine in it, probably worth at least definitely 6 digits. This guy that we talked to, very nice man. He said, ironically, 31 years ago, he was at Vancouver. He happened to be in Vancouver on the day that Gretzky broke Gordie Howe's record. So he says he's very lucky to be able to do both. And you really can't see unfortunately, I cut the top of the picture, but obviously you see it's Ovi at the top, and in the front is a Wayne Gretzky jersey on a goat. And I just couldn't stop laughing when I saw it. And he's got all sorts of Cap flags and pictures and the grade 8 stuff. And, it's just that whole thing, that personifies what the NHL is. It's fans showing their passion for their teams. And you know me, Paul and Joe. I love baseball. We go as much as we can. We love the game. I don't go to much football. Definitely don't go to much basketball. But NHL fans are definitely 2, 3, 4, 5 steps above everybody else, and that's not bias. That's fact. That's absolute fact. So I just wanted to segue into that. And as far as this team is concerned, and this is where I'm going to give both myself and Mr. Kreischer some serious back patting, because for years and years, we were two of very few people in the Islander community that really thought in the back of our minds, if things worked out right and the cards played out, certain guy wearing number 10 was going to really start stepping up. And he's done it big time. And those are the things that, as Islander fans, we don't get to see often enough, because unfortunately our histories of drafting and our histories of getting guys and they don't turn out to have their potential, and then they leave here and become stars. That happens with us. But it's such a pleasure to see what's happening with Simon Holmstrom this year. And to me, he's my MVP. Unfortunately, with Sorokin not playing as well as he has and being hurt a little bit, I think that dampened it. But to me, I have no qualms in my mind to say that Simon's my MVP this year. And I expect even better things from him. And I think he's the type of kid that sees what he's got and realize there's a larger sky ahead. And, so we are not going to make obviously the tragic number is 2, and it's probably going to happen either tomorrow or Friday. So we're saving our playoff ticket money, but let's take this time, if we can, and take opportunities to look at positives. There are positives with this organization and this team, despite what you think. And again, I'm looking at the glass half full. I'm never looking at it empty. And I hope that some of you people that are watching this, and some of you people that are going to hear this or watch this after we're doing it live, can feel the same way. Because there is a foundation. There are some things here that are good. Yes, we're always having to fix things. And maybe this year might be the year we fix it to the better. I'm going to be optimistic. I grew up the son of Dodger fans. So I'm always optimistic. I always think better, things will be better next year. And all I ask of you, you may disagree with me, and I can see some of it here, and that's fine. That's totally fine. It doesn't mean I will not shake your hand if I see you, or, talk a good, have a good talk or whatever, but I think there are things that are here. And I will honestly say I said that in 2019 and people thought I was nuts. We all know what happened for 2 years after that. So I'm going to pass the baton over to Mr. Power Trouble Panettiere out there. And again, let's at least be happy that we got to witness another season of NHL hockey. And I'm going to tell you something. Not having a dog in the show, I get to enjoy the playoffs this year, and it's going to be a blast, especially that freaking Western Conference. Joe, it's yours.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm going to start with somebody made a comment. How come Mike Bossy's name was never mentioned? Mike Bossy was never chasing Gordie Howe. He was all right. You granted, you give him the 9 straight seasons with 50 goals or more. Yeah, he's one of the greatest goal scorers in NHL history, if not the. But he was never chasing that record, so he shouldn't be mentioned in that, in that regard. But as far as goal scoring streaks, yeah, definitely. The Islander fans, yeah, I was watching the game on TV. They were loud, they were respectful, and that was great. People on the radio complaining about Sorokin after the game, being buddy. Hey, they're both, they're two countrymen playing the same sport. Hey, listen, he's going to go down in NHL history as the guy who gave up that goal. I mean, every time you talk Sorokin, he's going to be whatchamacallit, trivia. That's going to be a trivia question. And his name will never die because of that, because I don't think anybody's going to come close to catching Ovechkin. And the guy's still playing, and he has another year. You might see this guy reach 1,000 goals in a couple of years. I mean, if he's still putting up numbers, they're going to keep him playing, and I'm sure he's going to want to keep playing. Getting down to the team now, I'm very disappointed in the coaching. I'm disappointed in a few players. I'm very disappointed in Engvall. Where was he all year? How come we didn't see this game all year from him? Was it a kick in the ass that got him back into gear? I don't know. Was it Nelson leaving that opened up his game? I can't figure it out. I just don't know how a player could be dormant like that, and then all of a sudden he's playing hungry. He's playing hungry hockey, and I've never seen Engvall play that type of game. So I'm curious if anybody out there can enlighten me to what opened up his game. Post it in here, because I can't figure it out. How a player just turns it on. Sipakov, love his game. I think he should be playing on the either the top line or the second line. Barzal comes back healthy next season. I'd like to see him moved up to that top line and see what he could do, because I think he's finding his game too. The coaching staff, I hope they get rid of Wah. I don't like the way he coaches. I don't think the players respect him. They might respect him on the bench, but in the locker room, I don't think they respect him. I don't think they like his coaching. I don't think they like his system. His system doesn't work. His system doesn't work. You have a 2-goal lead in the third period last night. There's no way you lose that game. Stupid penalties are right. Granted, they took penalties. It was just a horrible loss. And that game, I'd say, sums up our whole season. That game last night. Because it had a little bit of everything. Getting a lead, blowing a lead, losing the game. It was just, I say it was a badly coached game. I don't like the way he coaches. Sorokin, I gotta say, at the end of the year, we better find out he had a problem with that glove arm. Because he gets beat high glove all the time. Okay? I mean, don't get me wrong. It's also a Russian goalie thing. They get beat high glove, high blocker, because that's just the game that they play. But with him, he's alligator arming those shots. He's not getting it. He's not extending his arm. He's short arming them. So I definitely think there's a problem there. I got to agree with Paul with that. And that's it. That's my rant. I want to see a coaching change. I want to see players moved around, and I want to see players give their all next year. That's what I want to see. And I want someone to answer me about Engvall, because I want to know where this kick in the ass, where he got that jump in his game all of a sudden. And that's it. That's all I got to say.
Beautiful. So real quick, I have to commend Islander fans who were at UBS Arena when Alex Ovechkin scored that goal. That through the TV, that sounded like a NHL playoff game, probably reminiscent of like Casey Cizikas scoring on Marc-Andre Fleury just a few years ago. It was that loud, guys. Complete and total stick taps to everyone there. We even heard you when you were all in unison for the chicken dance. I don't know why that was taken away for so many years. Like, the entire NHL fan base will absolutely get along with every Islander fan at UBS Arena at every game just to sing that song in making fun of another New York team any day of the week. Everybody hates the Rangers. Keep that going. The loudest will always be Devils and Islanders. Let's just get that out of the way. It's
Flyers
always going to happen. Flyers?
With the rain, no, screaming Rangers suck.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Okay, Flyers, I can understand. Okay. But no, absolute stick taps to you guys. The chants of Ovi were phenomenal. And I'm just like, yeah, that's not just the Capitals fans. That's in the entire UBS arena for the most part. You guys were absolutely phenomenal. In all of that, and that was just phenomenal. Listen, for those of you making fun of me when is Sorokin showing up? When is Sorokin this? When is Sorokin that? I got news for you, boys and girls. Sorokin's going to be in the Hall of Fame. What do you think about that now? Wah, wah, wah. One way or another, Sorokin's in the Hall of Fame. So, Gary, give me your thoughts again on first off, when the Islanders got called for that penalty, what was going through your head? Because you were there.
I said 2 words to Claire. That's it. And again, the man is such a, if you look like compare him to others, he's one of the most predictable people you'd ever want to see in the sport of hockey. You know where he's going to stand. You know
Right.
He's waiting for the puck. You know it's going to come to him, but yet he still gets it by you. And again, I wonder if somebody's been able to come up with the percentage of how many goals he scored within 2 feet of touching that face-off circle. I'll bet it's probably 70%.
Right.
Or very close to it. And again, he's got the capability, obviously, of scoring from anywhere on the ice, and has done it throughout his NHL Hall of Fame career. But it's just impressive. I mean,
Now,
I know. Just one last thought. I know he's only got 1 year left on his contract, but 2 things I predict are going to happen. Number one, because of what Wayne Gretzky said, he's going to get a Bugatti Veyron from Ted Leonsis. For those of you who don't know, look it up. That's a $3 million car that can go up to 275 miles an hour.
Pretty much.
And 2, he's going to get extended. Because there's nothing, absolutely nothing, that says that man is slowing down. The guy had a broken leg this season. Remember that, fans. He broke his leg. And what did he do when he came back? He had like 5 goals in 7 games. Not many 26-year-olds are going to do that.
Nope.
This guy at 39, and the monstrous way he keeps in shape, there's no doubt in my mind he can play. He could be like Chelios and play to like 46. And it wouldn't surprise me. So 1,000 goals, I'm going to say 1,100. If he keeps up the way he's keeping up, he's going to 1,100.
Okay. Well, let me ask you, when the power play started, was everybody standing up in that arena? Was anyone sitting down, or was everybody standing up during that power play?
I would say 50-50, to be fair.
Okay.
To be fair. No, I know we were sitting, but I was sitting kind of an edge of my seat kind of thing.
Right.
Because I knew I was going to have to get up. I just knew. The first chance he gets, boom. And I like the comparison. I never really paid attention to it until I started looking at some of the replays of some of his goals. They said somebody said when his puck comes in, off a one-timer, most one-timers, you can see it like this. But his comes in almost knuckling.
Right.
So you don't know what to expect or what to do. I never really paid attention to that, but that wowed me. And I'm like, that's something, very few guys can do. And I'm sure tons of kids in Russia right now are trying to learn how to be the next Alexander Ovechkin. And I think that's great. And many kids here are trying to be the next Alexander Ovechkin, and I think
Nothing wrong
that's
with
so
that.
great for the sport.
Nothing wrong with
So
that.
great for the sport. No,
I can
not at
tell
all.
you.
Go ahead.
I can tell you when everybody stood up. When that puck crossed that slot onto his stick.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was a playoff goal. That was basically a playoff
In my
goal.
mind, I see the puck going from side to side. I'm like, and as the puck gets moved over, I'm like, here it comes.
Yeah.
And by the time I almost got to say comes, it went in.
He was waiting right at the blue line. As soon as they crossed the blue line, he took those 3 steps, and that was it. He was ready to unleash.
So,
somebody said, why didn't I mention Lou? Why didn't I mention Lou? The reason why I didn't mention Lou is because he's not going anywhere. He's going to be.
Yeah.
Why didn't I mention Lou? He's not going anywhere.
Yeah. We've kind of been saying that now for years, Joe.
But I actually heard I heard some kind of a rumor about this, and I really I should have mentioned it because supposedly there was a meeting with some head honchos of the team and Lou and everybody else, and he just sat back in his chair and said, "Paul Kreischer thinks I'm going, huh?" Well, let me tell you, I'm going nowhere.
I didn't say he was going. I don't want Lou to go. I just want him to be president.
You think I'm just going to sit back and have a cup of coffee and watch the game go on?
I just want him to watch the games next year. No, letting him go would be too easy. No, let him sit there and just watch. That's all. I love him. No,
it's not often I get to slam Kreischer.
I know.
I'm enjoying this.
So listen, I do got to give Gretzky props when he did say, "Man, am I glad this is not the Coliseum."
Yeah, that was great.
He and for the younger fans who may not know, Gretzky gives the Islanders a ton of credit for helping him become the player and that team who they ended up becoming for years. They were friends after those cup runs. They're still friends now. But Wayne Gretzky has a little bit of an admiration, or a big admiration, for those dynasty Islanders way back when. And he's right. He didn't win a lot of games at Nassau Coliseum. So to throw in that little line of respect for Islander fans, I thought that was a very classy move.
Yeah, I mean, before the game on Sunday, they invited some of the supporter groups to a chalk talk before the game with Trotz, and fortunately, not many people went. Right, Claire? Very shockingly, but you could see the twinkle. He mentioned after he was finishing with this chalk talk, he was going to go sit with Gretzky and that, and he had a kind of twinkle in his eye, and you could see, it's amazing how sometimes the biggest adversaries end up becoming the biggest friends because of the matches or games that they play against each other. And all the things you ever see about Gretzky, and then when he's talking about the Islanders, he has nothing but praise up and down for Trotz, for Bossy, for Butch, all those guys. So, you love to be a fly on the wall with those conversations that they have, right? While they're sitting there having a beer or a kind of beverage together, not on a camera. I would love to sit there and listen to the stories swapped by those two at the same time.
Yeah. Adam, just a quick, I think Messier has said this before on TV or whatnot. He hated playing at Nassau Coliseum too. He's got that same vibe with the Islanders in general and whatnot. Yeah, there's a mutual respect for each other from both sides, but he didn't like playing at Nassau Coliseum either.
And he doesn't show it as much as Wayne does.
No, he does not.
No, Gary will remember this. In 1979, the Islanders nearly had a deal to bring Messier over.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was Gary Howitt they were going to trade.
It was Howitt and somebody else. I can't remember in the back of my mind who it was. But yeah, a 21-year-old Mark Messier.
Yeah.
Wasn't he playing? He was Edmonton's property, but before that, I think And here's a good question. Here's a question. We'll put it to the board. What team did Mark Messier play before he became an Edmonton Oiler? Don't say it, guys. Don't say it. I want to see. I want to see who's smart. And don't look on the internet. Do it based on your head.
No, I don't remember. I don't.
Because I've seen him actually
wear
that jersey.
Gretzky.
I've seen him actually wear that jersey.
Gretzky was Indianapolis, but I don't know Messier.
Right, he was the Indianapolis Racers, right? And he only played there for like a few weeks.
Right.
And then he went right to Edmonton.
Nope, I don't know.
I'll give you a hint. It was a WHA team.
Well, duh, I knew that, but I.
Oh wait! Oh, Todd is the winner. Todd is the winner.
Where?
Todd Peterson, Cincinnati Stingers.
That one?
Cincinnati Stingers. That's
yes.
right. And war number 27.
Yep.
Good call. Good call.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I would just love to be able to get the opportunity to sit and listen to guys from that era, you know, just swap stories. It's like it's like anything, you know, me growing up in the late 60s watching baseball, you know, I always loved, you know, seeing stories with Mantle and Mickey and Duke Snyder and all that. And, you know, growing up in a household, you know, at a time where there were 3 baseball teams. I mean, you know, in New York, that must have been, I still wish I can go in a time machine and go back. I mean, that must have been fun. I mean, to have, you know, people in your family do jokes on you. Like my mother was the biggest Duke Snyder fan, and my uncle used to come to our house before I was born, obviously, and put Duke Snyder pictures on the toilet paper. I mean, you know, those kinds of things, you know, I mean, we had Yankee fans, we had Dodger fans, and we had Giant fans in our family. And I can imagine those summer afternoons listening to Red Barber or whoever on the radio, or Vince Scully on the radio, you know, talking about those games. That must have been so much fun. And I can imagine, you know, these guys getting together and swapping stories about the cup runs and all these other things that happened in the NHL in the 80s that wouldn't even come close to happening now. You know, that would probably be, that would be something I would love to spend money on and be just a fly on the wall.
And in the 80s, you had the playoff brawls like Montreal and Quebec. I think it was 1981. You know, you had those amazing series, Buffalo and Boston. Then you had Hartford and Montreal. I mean, you know, Hartford would give Montreal fits. Give them fits in the playoffs. Hartford.
I'll tell you, that's probably one of the most underrated playoff series there's ever been, mostly because it was a first-round series. No, second-round series. They won. Hartford won the first round. Right? It was second round. But, yeah, I mean, you know, and it was their only big run the Whalers ever had. And you know, everybody in the world was rooting for Hartford.
What was that, 7 games, double overtime?
7 games in 77. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Who was in that? I know it was a weak goal. I know it was a weak goal and went between the goalie's legs.
I can't remember. Not a household name.
No, not Peter Angelo. Peter Angelo.
No, it might have been Liut, actually.
No, I think Liut was gone by then.
Oh, was he?
I think Liut
was
gone.
I'll have to look it up. Isn't this nice that we're keeping Paul quiet?
How old were you in 81, Paul?
For most of the year, I was 4.
Turning on 36.
Man, I wish the playoffs were as grueling as they were back in the 80s. Oh my God. Wow. Amazing playoff series.
Mm-hmm.
So, anything else, gentlemen?
Okay, it was Joe. It was Mike Liut.
It was
Steve
Mike
Weeks,
Liute?
Steve Weeks was the backup.
Wow. Mike Liute. Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
I
fifth in
like that.
scoring on that team, number 26, Ray Ferraro. That was the year he started to blossom.
Was Verbeek on that team too?
Yes.
No.
He went to.
Too early
No,
for
he
him.
wasn't there. He wasn't there.
Ooh.
Yeah, I thought Verbeek came later.
No,
Yeah,
I
he
thought
might- yeah.
Verbeek was there. Okay, we're it's around that year. He's close. Even I know that one.
Verbeek. Yeah.
So-
He went to Whalers in 1980, 89.
Francis.
Okay.
Ron Francis wasn't there.
Ron
right?
Francis was, well, he was the captain. Yeah, he was there.
Right.
81. Yeah. 81. We're talking about.
Francis
80.
coming in. Yeah. Yeah, 81. Yeah, I mean, again, for those of you that only know Hartford as the Wolfpack, Whaler games were a treat. You know, you basically, if you went up there to go on a road trip, the mall was right in with the arena. The hotel, which changed names about 7 times, was right next. And you know, you'd go to a game, and again, one side of the arena had like 40 rows, the other side had like 15 rows. It wasn't anything you would expect in an arena, but when it was full and the Whalers were playing well, it was as loud, close, but not as loud, but close to what the Coliseum was, because it was a small building.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it really kept the noise in. And on this coming Monday, it will be the 32nd anniversary of a guy deciding to take a woman out and went on a date to the Hartford Civic Center to see the Islanders play the Whalers. Nice segue, wasn't it? Of course, somebody to my left had to remind me of that. She didn't have to remind me, but she wanted to plug it in.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, 32 years ago was my first date. Islanders Whalers, tied it up late on a Derek King goal, and lost in overtime to Teriyaki.
Wow.
Okay.
Teriyaki.
Teriyaki, right? Teriyaki. Exactly.
Well, happy anniversary.
And of course, for all you young kids, when you're done with this show, do a Google search on Brass Bonanza, the best hockey song ever.
Brass Bonanza. Well, happy
And for
anniversary.
those of you in the chat, yeah, happy anniversary.
Thanks.
For those of you in the chat who have not mentioned Ray Ferraro, shame on all of you. You're listing every Hartford Whaler except for the one that matters the most at the moment.
Yeah, somebody wrote that's
So
how
that's
you
a
knew
good
she was
call there,
keeper.
Charles. They're saying, oh, she was a keeper.
And-
Atta boy, good one, Charles. Go ahead, Joe.
And didn't the roof cave in that on that arena?
Yeah, 1988, because they played 2 years, or no, 1980. They played 2 years in the Springfield Civic Center when they were fixing the roof.
You know, people. Well, they're probably too young to remember, but Buffalo played in a small rink, and so did
The
Boston. Do you remember?
Yeah.
You remember their rinks were smaller than the 200?
Oh, yeah. Well, the 3 of them, Buffalo, Boston, and Chicago, all were
Right.
under 200 feet.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, I think Chicago Stadium was 180 over 77 or 78.
Yeah, they were
We're
short
talking
too.
20
as
feet
far as
shorter,
width.
which means your blue lines were shorter. A
Right.
whole completely different game.
Yeah.
You know, we always talk about the fact when Europeans come over and they're going from a 200 by 100 Olympic size rink to 200 by 85, and we think nothing of it, but it's a big difference. But yeah, go back to the video, go check those arenas and go check the way that they played. I mean, Bobby Orr is obviously the greatest defenseman in the world, but I think he had a very big advantage playing with those small neutral zones in Boston. That made his game that much better.
Yeah.
And he exposed it. But yeah, the short rinks were different. They were fun. And again, they were loud too.
Oh yeah.
I still say the loudest building I've ever been to is Chicago Stadium. Without a doubt. And that was for a regular season game. I could not hear anything in the first half hour of the game.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was. It was real. It was something else.
Did what's his name, Corneliuson, sing the anthem that night?
No,
they go nuts when he sings the anthem.
No, it was the one before. It was Wayne Messmer. Wayne Messmer did it. He was the one that did it in '91 with first Iraq War. During the All-Star game, and that's when that got really noticed. And then I don't remember how long later. Maybe it was about 7 or 8 years later. He was mugged and stabbed, and he lost his voice.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That was something. But yeah, especially young fans. You'd think the game is good the way it is. Definitely go back and look at some of these old tapes. And when you do, also add in, if you can find tapes or find stories of the Quebec Nordique, because that was one of the
most loud.
That was not only just the building, but the atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you didn't know any word of French, you were screwed. Because there was nothing in English in that building whatsoever. But the game and the fans and the interactions were wonderful. And again, Nordique Canadian rivalries were insane.
Yeah.
And the funny thing I always remember, the first time I went to Quebec, everybody remembers those old little schedule books. Every team had those schedule books, right? And you open it up and you see where they're playing. They and the Canadians were the only organizations to put the other teams' schedules in their schedules.
Right.
Strange. Very strange. But they would show in the Nordique, if you'd see the light blue color, meaning they were home, and you'd see the blue, the dark blue, when the Canadians were at home. But man, I would have loved to have been to one of those games. We all know Ranger Islander. We all know Ranger Devil. Boston, Montreal, but Quebec, Montreal must have been something for a rivalry game.
I'm telling you, if you go on Google, I think it was 1981, their playoff series.
Yeah.
The brawl started, I think, at the end of the first period, and as soon as the teams came out onto the ice, bang, they went at it again.
Yep.
They went at it again.
No love lost.
That's a particular series. Every once in a while, the NHL Network will play that over the summer.
Yeah, they will.
That's one of those games that always gets played over the summer at some point. So
that was a brutal series. That was a brutal series. I mean, you got the Stastny brothers, the Hunter brothers in that series.
Yeah,
a lot of tough players. In that series. A lot of names you'll recognize when they went to other teams.
Yeah. But, Joe, I got to get you on something that you said earlier in your rant.
Go ahead.
Last night, we gave up 2 goals in the end of the game. But we weren't the worst last night. You know what happened in Vancouver, right?
No.
Vancouver was down 3 with 1:01 left. They tied the game. 3 goals in a minute. The first team to ever do that.
Really?
That's a sudden change of momentum.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And ended up winning the game in overtime. So their faint playoff hopes are still alive. So we're not the only ones that do that. We're not the only ones that screw the pooch in the end of the game.
No, we just do it the most consistently.
Yeah. Right you are. Right you are. And Dallas was the one they beat. And it's true, Matt. Thank you. That it was in Dallas. So Vancouver got 3 goals on the road last minute.
I agree, Tommy.
Almost as bad as our 4-goal 5-minute power play to end the game against Detroit and Barclays years ago.
Wow. So many good memories over the years with especially playoff series. I mean, there were some classics. Avalanche and the Red Wings. They had some.
The Patrick Waugh Osgood fights.
Oh, they had some nasty series. The Claude Lemieux cheap shot.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Nasty series.
Believe you me, the game has matured and gotten the way it is, and we love it so much. But if you want to have reminiscences of back in the time, you definitely have to go on YouTube and watch some of these old playoff series, because you younger kids that are barely in your 20s, you're gonna learn a ton about the game watching that stuff.
You think watching the Islanders in the playoff series now gives you heartburn? Let me tell you something. You watch some of those games from the 80s, and they were a great team, but they would be in a 1-1 game going into the third period, and you would just, especially against the Rangers, when Kenny Morrow scored the overtime goal. That game, I had hair back then. I'm surprised it didn't fall out. I mean, I had a full swap.
But you have to bring a picture on next week, Joe. We need proof. I'll tell you, during the Cup run, obviously we all know what happened, but to me, I think the more tougher series of the bunch were the Boston series.
Oh, definitely. Absolutely.
With Terry O'Reilly and Gillies and all that. To me, I think that took more out of the Islanders than it did on any of the other series that they played.
Well,
that's where they need, because when you play teams like like the Rangers at the time or others, the Islanders could win with their scoring and they can win with their goaltending, but Boston, they needed everything.
Yeah.
They needed their physicality. They needed their defensemen stepping up. They needed every aspect of the game at that time to win that series. And to me, I think that the Bruins gave the Islanders more fits than any. Obviously, Edmonton found their number late, but they 2 years in a row they had to play Boston in the semifinals, and Boston gave it everything they had. And actually, Buffalo the first year was a tough one too.
Yes. Yeah, they just had those grinding teams. They play along the boards, and those were the games I'm talking about. Those 1-1 games, those tight playoff games where it's possible you might not score again, and the other team will win it. I mean, they were just rough games. Those Boston games, the Philly series when we won the first one, that was a tough series. Gordon didn't even get a face one.
Way to go, Tommy.
Gord will get Gord on the show here. We'll see. We'll let Gord defend himself here. So
sorry, we're bringing up the old time stuff for the young and host there.
No, but at the same time, what you're doing is that you're connecting some of the past to what needs to be done, partially needs to be done with this team now and in the immediate future. The physicality is not there with this team.
No.
And no, we really don't want to be like the 80s league anymore, but there has to be some kind of, I don't even want to say resemblance, but some kind of like that kind of attitude when it's needed for this game. And this team just doesn't have it.
No.
So
I mean, you go back to the identity line. I mean, that's what made even that kind of a line was able to make a team that was not up in the speed levels be brought in with everybody else. And you don't have to be a team that's going to crash and burn every second on the boards, and go and be that physicality. It's presence that can do it. You do it a couple of times and it gets a reputation, and that's what I think the identity line did. I mean, because it got Don Cherry off almost every Saturday night when he talked about it.
I'll tell you what. I'll give you a good example of what you're talking about. The St. Louis Blues. St. Louis Blues. Look at the hockey they're playing. Why couldn't the Islanders do that? They're not much better, but they play a certain style of game, and they don't, come off their game. They play their game. And what they win? They just won 12 in a row?
Yeah, they just lost. They lost last night to Winnipeg.
The Jets beat them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but that's the type of run we needed, and we couldn't find it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we won 8 in a row. I think that was our longest streak,
8, something like that. Yeah,
yeah. Well, so,
all righty. I'm going to let the fans here throw out a few more questions down for water cooler talk. For those of you who want the Islanders to tank, that's nearly impossible at this point. But again, my humble opinion, if there is a player in the draft that I would absolutely want the Islanders to draft, if the Islanders ever got the number 1 pick, it would be Schaefer, the number 1 defenseman. I know you guys are high on Hagens, the Long Island kid. But if we're talking strictly draft and potential, Schaefer is leaps and bounds above him and Michael Misa. So I would still go in that route. But again, the draft lottery has not taken place yet. So we'll see what happens.
Paul, why don't you just give a thought on the NCAA tournament? I'm sure you've been watching that very closely.
Oh, love it. Love it. And this is the thing, and I'll say this with Cole Eiserman now, folks. He's a game changer because he's there in those big game moments. No doubt. He is that scorer. But that's all I'm seeing out of him right now. And that's due to the fact that it's Boston University right now. There's going to be a couple of players leaving. And then he's going to get his shot next year. I want to see Eiserman lead the team. I want to see him do more than just be that big finisher. Allow him to finish, don't get me wrong. It's like very much Alex Ovechkin. He's going to get that goal on a playoff shot, in a playoff. Towards the end of the game in a tight spot, Cole Eiserman is the guy you're going to give the puck to, and he's going to make magic happen. That's what we want to see. But I want to see Eiserman put his game together in a bigger role with more responsibility next season. I think that's going to show a big amount of growth and improvement coming out of Cole Eiserman. And then whether he comes up to the NHL or not, you guys know me at this point. I will still say minimum 40 games in the American League. Let him get used to the professional ranks, and then you go from there. Because there is always another level for these kids to reach, and it is literally just let's see what he can do first instead of rushing the kids up. That's been the biggest Achilles heel for the Islanders for decades now. It's rushing the prospects, no matter who they are. And for those of you new to the show, I'm of that Bill Torrey type. And when Lou had his system with the Devils, he didn't bring anybody up until they were ready to the point they never went back down, ever. So, yes, I would have sent Matt Barzal down to the minors. I would have sent Anthony Beauvillier down to the minors. I would have sent Noah Dobson down to the minors. I would have gradually gotten them used to the pro game. And if they showed anything, okay, then you bring them up. But that's me. It's a very classic style now. That's always been me. So let's see.
Dave Chazowski.
Yeah, there's another name. Bridgeport coach lives in Albany and doesn't coach the team during the weekend practice. Never heard of that. Never heard. That's an awful lot of traveling because I've done Albany quite a few times, and Gary and I have been up to Montreal quite a few times. We know that trip. Even Bridgeport to Montreal is a trip.
Mm-hmm.
That's just, yeah, no, I don't think so. Need a development team to do that. That would be helpful. So we'll see. But that's my thoughts on Cole Eiserman. I thought the NCAA playoffs have been great so far. Thomas Machu has done very well for Providence. He's your basic stay-at-home defenseman. Will we see him in an Islanders uniform? I don't know. Bridgeport, more than likely. And we'll go from there. Cameron Berg is signed. Well, let me rephrase that before I get yelled at. He signed a PTO. He'll hopefully sign his 2-year ELC during the summertime, and we'll see what he can do. Oh, Tommy asked about our thoughts on Atu Ratu, and that goes in line with what I had just said before. Atu Ratu spent some time marinated in the American Hockey League in Abbotsford, and now he's starting to show that, on a wild card potential team, he's not looking out of place. Again, he spent most of the season in the American League. That's fine. Don't put any expectations on the kid if you're in Vancouver. See what he can do for a full season next year. I'm sure those numbers are going to drop because of the schedule. It's different. It's a faster game, so on and so forth. You really want to give Atu Ratu maybe another 2 years to see what he can do.
Guys, I got to jump out.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to get right to also, so you might as well.
Gentlemen, by all means, I'll answer some of these questions here, and we'll go from there.
Gary, take care. Take care, everyone.
Yeah, you too, Joe.
Stay safe.
Enjoy the last few days of the season, everybody. Again, take it for what it's worth.
Yep.
And again, we play the Rangers tomorrow, so be ready for that.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there.
All right, brother. Be good.
Yep. All right. I'll talk to you later. All right. So, what is the genuine direction? What are your off-season moves to get better? What does the roster look like for next year? Dear God, 3 loaded questions. That basically sums up water cooler talk here. Listen, the genuine direction for me, make a direction. Make decisions on where this team should go. I called it last week a character flush. Anyone who doesn't want to be an Islander, see ya. Contracts these days, because the cap going up, they're easily movable. Even if you want to send them down to Bridgeport, the worst thing you can do is add talent to Bridgeport. If players don't want to play in Bridgeport, it's called mutual termination. You can get away with that these days. Coaching staff, I think Joe said it best. You got to look at all three or 4 coaches, whatever it is. I'm not going to lie. I want to see a laundry list of injuries. That's the only way I will get a little more positive on this season. If there's a lot of injured players playing, okay, I'll turn that needle a little bit more to the positive side for the moment. Off-season moves to get better. Let's see who's on this team first. Who wants to be an Islander? Let's go in that direction. I was asked before if this is a retool or a rebuild. I'm going to go with that character flush again. You can't retool or rebuild until you know who actually wants to be here. Having said that, the Islanders have actually been retooling now for the last 4 years. Unfortunately, it has taken their first round picks to begin the retool. The positive sign to that is that they did not draft. I'm sorry, they did not trade their 2024 pick, and they just got a 2023 pick. Okay, if we weren't talking retools or rebuild, and we were having a season where we have this kind of season like the Boston Bruins had, where injuries have played a role and we're missing the playoffs, yes, I would consider this a retool. It's just 1 year. There's more cap management now. You get rid of some of the older players for younger players, so on and so forth. That's just a quick retool. This goes deeper. The character flush is a real thing. Who wants to be a New York Islander next season? That's it for me. Where you go from there, truthfully, I think the Islanders should draft every single player in this draft, despite the fact that yes, these kids are going to take a really long time. I think they should still draft bare minimum their first rounder, maybe the second, depending on what they do. Maybe there can be some cap management and trades at that draft. And then look, there's going to be some money on the line here. Go after a free agent, go after a free agent or two. But there's a lot of internal stuff that needs to happen before the draft. Whole hell of a lot. What does the roster look like for next year? Someone asked me the question, if there was a better goalie out there than Hogberg, would I go after him? My answer is yes. If you can improve the team any way, shape, or form, you have to do it. I don't know if I'm re-signing everybody back. I don't know if Lou wants to. But again, we're all stuck right now because the season is not over. We all need to see who wants to be New York Islanders after the season is over. So, and we'll get to that we'll get to that later on. Jeremy Colliton wouldn't be a bad idea. Jeremy Colliton, even as an assistant coach, if they wanted to bring back Patrick Waugh, maybe. I like the idea of Jeremy Colliton. I always have. What do I see being made in the offseason? Look, I've got no clue, guys. I haven't asked. I don't want to ask. I had said Brock Besser, I think back in December. And that's only because, and I think it was, I'm going to give Angie credit here because I think Angie asked me, or it was Robin, one of the two ladies, they asked me if, what's out there in free agency, like in terms of the right winger. There was only one person I thought was going to be available, in all honesty, other than Kyle Palmieri, and that was Brock Besser. Mitch Marner, as far as I'm concerned, I don't think he wants to leave Toronto. So once I hear something like that, I brush that off. I brush Marner off just for that simple reason. I'm not even worried about the relationship between Marner and Lou. I know Marner really doesn't want to go anywhere. So once I hear something like that, I don't bother with Marner until he's an actual Islander, if that even happens. Need overhaul from top to bottom. Possibly. But yeah, in terms of other big moves, Besser might be the only big move. Unless there's a trade going down, and that's the case, I've got no clue. You've got no clue. No one has a clue. That won't happen until the draft anyway. Yeah, the Rangers are a mess. The Rangers are definitely a mess. We do. But you know what? Some of these guys have not played fairly well. I think that's going to fall well into Lou's hands. Part of me agrees with this. Part of me agrees with this. Good question. Cal Ritchie makes the squad next year. Do you put Simon on his right side? For starters, I think Holmstrom would help out defensively for any kind of defensive issues that Cal may have, and that may just be due to the speed. But again, me being a traditionalist per se, I would still put Cal Ritchie in Bridgeport first just to get used to the pro game. I would probably go after a third line center if Pajot doesn't want to be an Islander, or if they're going to trade Pajot or whatnot. I would still go another route, but we'll go from there. But no, that's not a bad idea, putting Simon with Cal Ritchie. But again, we don't even know who's coming back. But I like that idea. No, Leo, absolutely. Definitely a retool. And it wouldn't matter if this is going to be the only season the Islanders are going to miss the playoffs because of injuries. Yes, this is just a retool. You don't have to rebuild. What the Islanders have now done, and I've said this on a show before, they have a good complement of 2023 picks. They have all of their 2024, I think, and they got a good, almost all of their 2025 picks. That's another good start. If the Islanders can follow the trend now of some of these other teams and in bare minimum draft their first round pick and their second round picks moving forward, the Islanders are going to be in better shape than most fans may realize. Lou said there's no such thing as a retool. Yeah, well, he does. He's not a big believer in rebuilds. Yes, retool. He has no choice. He knows it. Lou isn't making any big moves. I don't, Chris. That part of me agrees. I don't even know if there is a big move to be made. I really don't. Give me your thoughts. What is a big move for you guys? I personally, I don't think there's a big move in the NHL unless it's going to be through a trade. You know what I mean? I'm not there. Yeah, we'll definitely have more money this time. Yeah, Boston also sold off at the deadline. They did. Yeah, it's a college player draft. There's a couple of good centermans in there, and I'll go through some of those players 9 through 15. There's really not much of a difference talent wise. No one's really stood out just yet, like moving up in those rankings yet. The combine might change that, but 9 through 15, not too much of a change. Yeah, see, I don't even get to that point, guys. I just don't. I don't care if he wants to come here or not. All I know is Marner wants to stay in Toronto. See, that's where I'm going with this. If Marner doesn't want to go anywhere, he just wants to stay in Toronto. So, Jake Wallman wouldn't be a bad idea. See, those are sneaky good moves. I like the sneaky good moves. I'm not into big players, although we're Islander fans. We're not used to big players, big signings. You know what I mean? Jake Wallman wouldn't be a bad idea. Yeah, I kind of wanted Braden Yeager too. I did. He was on my list with trading Brock over there. Jets wouldn't do it, and that's the other thing. Lou is correct. It does take two to tango. Yeah, Angie, that's true. Yeah, and he's done okay in the playoffs. I was really expecting him to do more, and I it, and you guys have heard me say this now for God knows how long. It is about the skating, folks. The skating, you got to get your skates ready, to play professionally, and you may need some time. Lou has 2 years. I'm sorry, Varley has 2 years left on his contract. How does that work if his career is over? Well, the contract becomes an asset. if the Islanders want to spend more money, you put Varley on LTIR, which allows the Islanders to spend up to his contract. So I don't have the contract up, up in front of me. Let's just say Varley makes $5 million. You can put Varley on LTIR, and then the Islanders are allowed to spend an extra $5 million. See, these for me, Greg, these aren't big moves. They aren't big moves. This is just shuffling. Honestly, the big move would be signing Marner. Marner would be the big move. Besser is a solid B plus signing, no doubt. Marner's the big one. Marner doesn't want to leave Toronto. Ooh, may take a player like Barzal to ask for a trade for real change starts. Maybe. And that's going to be another part of this offseason, boys and girls. Where is Matthew Barzal in all of this? Is he going back to play center? If that's the case, we are back to that storyline of who's going to play with Matt Barzal. We are back to that again. So another good point by Angie there. You know what, Chris? I know where you're going with it. I think a lot of players are going to be given too much money just because the cap's going up. The cap's going to go up probably, I'm hearing already, 115 million at some point. 115. So I would have to say now, and this is for everybody, don't look at the actual AAV. Don't look at the numbers or how much the player's getting. Start looking at the percentage of what that player is making that impacts the team. So let's just say, for example, Noah Dobson gets paid $10 million and the salary cap is $100 million. That means Noah Dobson is making 10% of the team's salary cap. I think, is 10% too much? Is 9% too much? Is 8%? We have to start playing the percentages on that one now. I think a lot of players are going to get paid a lot of money. I'm not going to lie. Some of it's long overdue. Some of these players, they've waited a while to get paid. They're going to get paid. I think moving forward, though, we need to take a look at the percentages of, how it impacts the team moving forward. Going with the best youngsters in the organization, as long as they're ready. As long as they're ready. Oop. I think Sip and Holmstrom will get decent raises. I do. Maybe. I think Utah's going to make that 2.75. Yeah, that was just an example. So yeah, we're going to spend, you could spend an extra 2.75 million. Yeah, I've said this. I've said this before. It's not about the cup. It's not about the cup until you actually get there. And the Islanders have not been there to the Stanley Cup Finals in a very long time. It's not about the cup until you get there. And, when you have 32 teams, soon to be 34 in the talks, you're going to have 115 million in cap space. It's not about the cup. If it were about the cup, you're probably looking at 27 teams, 28 teams, depending on how good these kids get. And college free agency is going to improve that, no doubt. But yeah, these are billionaires, guys. We are looking at playoffs. It should be a bare minimum. And yes, there should be, a strive for that. But if you're looking for the Stanley Cup, it's not until you get there. And the Islanders haven't shown, along with the other teams, they have not shown to get into the Stanley Cup yet. Sorry. And that's also true. Long-term injured reserve makes good trade bait, no doubt, especially with teams on the cap floor who don't want to spend that kind of money. True. True. You know, shuffling may only be a couple of players, but no, that's also true. Shuffling and retool could be the same depending on how it's done. I can go along with that. 8.5 mil tops, no more. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I want Dobson making close to 10% of the team. I don't know. I don't know if I want that, but we'll see what happens. I hope. Oh, that's a tender subject. We'll work on that later on. If you don't extend Brock, I don't know if you're going to extend Lee. I don't know, but if Brock comes back, who knows? We'll see. Yeah, that performance bonus, agreed. If it's not about the cup, you're in the wrong league. Yeah, you're in the American League. You know, I do this with you guys every week. Okay, we do it all the time. In September, you guys can literally give me 6 teams, 7 teams, sometimes 8 teams who are not even going to make the playoffs. We all do it. 7, 8 teams who are not even going to make the playoffs. That's well over 20% of the league, guys. It's not about the cup. When have the Islanders or the Anaheim Ducks haven't done it in a while? Chicago hasn't done it. Pittsburgh, they haven't done it. The Minnesota Wild haven't. The Winnipeg Jets haven't. The Rangers haven't. They made it close. They made it interesting for 1 year. The Devils made it interesting for 1 year. It's literally, this league is turning into a year by year case. Sometimes 2, sometimes 3, and then we go from there. The Islanders have shown absolutely nothing right now that they are cup contenders. Not about the cup. Yeah, 84. Now, I agree with that. Angie. It's about the mindset, but it's not there. It's not there for a lot of the teams. That could be a discussion for another time. Is the mindset really about the cup? That would be an interesting conversation. And believe it or not, I have asked that question for a while. A lot of the times the players are just going through the grind, and it's not until after the trade deadline that some players start to think about the Stanley Cup. Sorry. It's where it is. Fans who are season ticket holders go for different reasons. It's family time for a lot of fans. Hanging out with friends who end up being family. No doubt. Generation to generation to generation. Yeah, you know what? I just saw the highlight on that, Chris. I don't even know what he was thinking. I'm stupid play. Just stupid. I think so. Yes, and I think that's how we got rid of Uncle Leo to Vegas that 1 year. We had him take we had Vegas take Uncle Leo when he was on LTIR. Brock Faber comp. Ooh. Okay. Okay. That's not bad. Sure. Younger, faster, more exciting to watch. Fair. Need to get rid of Palms, Lee, and Pageau. I wouldn't get rid of Lee. He's earned that last year of the contract. Depending on how the Islanders go, do you give him the option of, trading Lee? You ask him. Will he take it? Probably not. But he's at least earned one more season with the Islanders. Palms and Pageau, we'll see. Pageau will not go for picks or prospects. That already happened. There is probably a better chance for him to get traded at the draft. And Palms, I think that's going to be up to him. I'm not counting on Brock coming back. It's just, as Islander fans, should it actually shock you? No. But I don't know if Brock comes back. Yeah, it has protected and unprotected players. Yeah. Sure. Sure. But now the question is, Robin, when is Calgary going to add? Okay. And again, that might tie in with their new arena. They got the lowercase stars, but they're going to need some help soon, especially with that new arena coming in. That's going to coincide with everything. I would not bring up Isaiah George yet on D. I know you guys love him. I've seen him quite a bit in Bridgeport. He's making the same mistakes as he was in the NHL. They're just young rookie mistakes. Would I bring him up to start the season? Probably not. Would I use him as a call up? Absolutely. Maybe he eventually plays his way on. No, not yet. Does Barzal get an A next year? Is Barzal going to be on this team next year? Yeah, guys, I think there's absolutely more uncertainty with this team moving forward than ever. I honestly don't know. It'll be interesting to see. No, absolutely. Do I see this team as a cup contender in 3 to 4 years? Ooh. I don't know if Lou has it in him to do what's necessary. Ooh. See, that's a good question, Craig. Cal Ritchie in 3 years could be really good. Cole Iserman in 3 years could be really good. A healthy Matt Barzal could be really good. Bo Horvat would be a very good third line forward, third line center, maybe a winger at that time. Romanoff and Dobson would be nice. I think we need to see more of a future. Who are we bringing in defensively wise? I think we could use maybe Isaiah George in 3 years. That's got some potential. I like Holmstrom. There's enough of a young core here that has me intrigued. I'm not going to say yes. I'm definitely not going to say no. I don't know if anyone wants to spend time in a free agent market 3 or 4 years from now, but I think the Islanders, even with the draft that they have now, I think they would have to go the free agent route. Maybe for someone like a Dougie Hamilton type on defense, or a little more defensive minded Dougie Hamilton. Sorry, did that again. Probably someone like Arteri Panarin. Yeah, something like that. They may have to go to free agent route to continue to go on the free agent route if they want to be Stanley Cup contenders in 3 or 4 years. But still continue to draft. That's what they need to do. Who's the goalie in 3 years? Damn good question. The damn good question, Todd. Could be one of our youngsters. I don't know if it'll be Sorokin. I think Sorokin will still be on the team. I think you could go have a 40-40 split. I think that might be happening, but I don't think Sorokin's going to be that out of position, if you know what I mean. I think that'll be a healthy battle between the two, and I think that's what the Islanders need to do moving forward. God, I wish that were true. In this league, Leo, if the Islanders continue to make mistakes, the younger players making that many mistakes, we're losing a lot of games, and the owners don't want to lose a lot of games. That's what it is. It's still down to money, guys. It's still down to money. The mandate is still playoffs. That's it. I don't know if we're going to go younger players, we don't need Patrick Waugh as a coach. You may as well bring in Quinn or Colliton, someone else who's really worked on a younger system for the younger players. Maybe. Patrick Waugh wants to win now. That's again, it's a clean flush, but you don't want the lottery league. If you want to get down to the lottery league, you can kiss the Stanley Cup for at least another 8 years. Sorry. Bingo. Yeah, it's going to have to be development. And I agree with Robin. I agree with Angie and everyone else saying development is going to be key. No doubt. Yeah. And it's not just New York that I'm concerned with. It's going to be Bridgeport moving forward. I like the college players that they're bringing in. They're decent. And what I mean by decent is that they can at least play in the American League. Give them another year or two to let them get themselves adjusted to the pro league and go from there. Good question. Offer sheets. I don't know. Dallas didn't do it. Washington hasn't done it. Winnipeg hasn't done it. You could trade a boatload. You can trade Matt Barzell for a boatload, and you can improve the team that way. You can do that. Yeah, offer sheets. I don't think that would be the way to go. I don't know. He's not playing like it. Why? I don't care if he's getting paid $8 million. Why does he have to be the guy? You're going to ride a hot goaltender. If it's some young kid who's got something to prove, you're going to play him. It's called accountability. I feel like the Stars did it from building from within. Right, they did it right from building within. They did. Does ownership look at this the same way? We are rarely signing free agents in offseason due to team performance and taxes. They are doing it the right way, Craig. Again, they needed to trade their first 4-round picks. That was part of the retool just to keep the Islanders afloat in that 8th playoff spot. That was the mediocrity. They made up the money they lost playing at Nassau Coliseum in COVID. What they're doing now is what Dallas has been doing for years. It's what Winnipeg has been doing for years as well. It's now drafting their first, and I believe their second round picks every year. The Islanders have now been doing that. But they're in that beginning process, which is why I'm saying the free agency market over the next 3 or 4 years are probably going to be critical for the Islanders. And listen, how do you see How do you see that can make this team from Bridgeport? What do you mean, Charles? I don't understand the question. Um, the taxes I kind of give you, but Bo Horvat ended up signing here. Pajot ended up signing here. Palmieri ended up signing here. They've all done well in their positions. So, do we get that big? I don't want to call him a big player, but do you get that solid player in Brock Besser? I still don't think Mitch Marner is leaving Toronto. Mitch Marner would be that guy, but you know, Toronto's willing. I'm sorry, not Toronto. Dallas is willing to make trades as well. Winnipeg is looking to make trades as well. They make trades to improve the team. So we'll see what direction the Islanders go. Are they going to go, trade Matt Barzell for a slew of players? He can do that. Are you going to go the free agent route? We're going to find out. Yeah, that's the cue, though. It's the cue. It's okay. Do I think Palms walks in free agency? I don't know. If the house is if it's true that the house is on Long Island, it's Long Island. It's the Islanders or Devils. I don't think he'll play for the Rangers. I think he'll go Islanders or Devils. But I think he'll work with Lou. Need to see some kids up to see what we got. No, this is no. Charles, they're all rookies. They're all rookies. You want to bring Liam Foodie up? Sure, he's not a rookie. No, they're rookies. They're struggling in a professional league. They're learning how to play in a professional league. They are all struggling. Just to get them up here for you guys to see that's not development. Mm-mm. No, they're all rookies. You're playing. I think they play 19 rookies this year, Bridgeport. Mm-mm. No, I hate playing armchair GM. Yeah, that too. Any players from the team making next year? No, I don't want them to make the team next year. I want these kids in Bridgeport fighting for a shot to get in. And it's like I said before, there are a couple of players, and I will go over that over the summer before the draft, who I feel could at least be call ups and not look out of place for a certain amount of time if there are injuries to the regular players. But, you know, it's interesting because we're teetering in the middle again. If you get a couple of good solid players like a Wallman, like Besser, that could move everybody up. That could move this whole team up. The defense needs to be fixed as well. We know what changes need to be made. If the changes are made, they may not be mediocre. And you got to count the other teams in the other, in this division as well. The Rangers are going to change. New Jersey's going to change. Carolina's going to change. There's an opportunity to move up in the standings, believe it or not. Doing a basement demo. Good for you. Yeah, I mean, they're all streaky, but again, that's going to come down to coaching. Going to come down to coaching. How many of our D are under contract? I think Romanoff and Dobson are the only two who need contract extensions. Well, let me rephrase that. Pellick, Pullock, Mayfield. I think those are the regular three. Everybody else, they all need contracts. So I think it's the big three right there. Yeah. So any other questions, comments, concerns? Good show. Good questions. A lot of this stuff is not going to get answered now. It's probably not going to get answered until after the playoffs. We'll see if there's any coaching changes made before then. This is going to be a tough one. So listen, moving forward then, what we're going to do, I think next week might be the end of the season or the week after. The first week after the NHL season, I'm going to go, I'm going to go through the entire rundown. I'm going to run through the numbers with you guys, uh, you know, and we'll discuss the Islanders, their positives, the negatives, everything else like that. And then probably a couple of weeks before the draft, I will come back and I will give my state of the Isles Union address, where in preparation for the draft, I will go over the prospects over in Europe, the prospects that were in college this year. I will cover Worcester. I will cover Bridgeport. And we are going to go in depth with every single prospect in this organization. And that's going to cover a couple of weeks before the draft. So that way you guys get a really good grip on what the Islanders have moving forward. Okay. And then it'll be draft time. We'll take care of the draft. And we'll go from there. Does Duclair return to the Isles after the stinking session he needs? I don't know. Wah has one more year, I think. Okay. Summer will be more enjoyable than the season. Maybe. I'm actually looking forward to the summer. Oh, yeah. What was this one? Sport Track? Sure. Anyone that wants to look at the contracts, go for it. That's fine. What about Marchand? Oh, wouldn't that be something? Marchand as a third liner? Maybe. What are we doing with Matt Barzal? That's going to be my question. What are we doing with Matt Barzal? Marchand wouldn't be a bad idea. Yeah, I did like Cat Friendly. Definitely. Yeah, see, I don't do hypotheticals like this, Greg. He didn't, he rejected the offer. Again, does he go home to Minnesota? Probably. I think that would be the only stop. Do I take out the Islanders? No, I don't. I think there'd always be that possibility, but him going to Minnesota just makes all the sense in the world, and he may actually stay in Colorado. Who knows? Maybe he signs a 2-year deal to stay in Colorado, go for the cup. Oh yeah. My bowling time is almost over with that too. I was in the Winter League for a little bit. I got one more tournament in May. But yeah, no, folks, we're going to go over everything Islander related. And then I'm going to do a deep dive into the prospects. And then, I'll let you guys know who I think the Islanders should go after at the draft. And I don't know if I'll do a draft show. I don't know if I'll come down to Long Island. We'll do another draft party. We'll think of something. Yeah, gutter ball. So, yeah. But first, before we do any of that, let's see who's actually an Islander when this season's over and before the draft. And we'll talk about that, as the season goes on. So listen, boys and girls, thank you again for coming on. If you could, please follow Isles Talk on X at Isles Talk. Follow and like us on Facebook please hit the like button on this show, hit the notifications so that way you know when you're getting a notification, and hit that subscribe button, please. It's been improving every week, and I really, really appreciate that. The numbers have been going up. The hockey talk has been great. Yeah, I don't mind doing a draft show. I've done it before. For me, home is Pennsylvania. I can always do I usually do a post draft show too. But yeah, we'll go from there. But yeah, the prospects in the draft, it's very in depth. I've got notes dating for quite a few years now, so I've been doing this now since 2008. It's a fun show. It's a little more enlightening, and it really gives you guys a really good idea of where the Islanders are as an organization. And then I'll let you guys decide whether or not we're going to improve or we're not going to improve and whatnot. So again, hit like and subscribe for all of the social media stuff. We'll see you guys maybe next week. If not, we'll take 1 week off and then we'll come back and we will discuss everything from this past season. We'll go over all the good stuff. All right. So take care, guys. Enjoy your games with the Rangers and the Devils coming up. Let's go Islanders, and we will see you soon.